Hi friends, I am Sweta Kaushal and today we are in conversation with Shoojit Sircar. A very warm welcome, Shoojit sir.
Thank you, Shweta. Thank you so much.
So how's it going prep for release of your film?
Yeah, it's been a little different than when you release in the theater. This OTT release is a little different experience, but yeah, we are okay so far. I think, we had one film earlier, Gulabo Sitabo, also in OTT, so that gave us a little headspace in terms of what exactly can happen. But things are changing so much in terms of in the OTT, so it's a new experience for us too, me too.
True. So you've already mentioned Gulabo Sitabo. You were the first Indian filmmaker to actually decide to go for digital release with a film as big as yours, which was Gulabo Sitabo. Do you want to talk about the process that took went behind deciding that, and you kind of led the way for the industry?
Uh, uh, yes, I think that decision was a little tough. It was not easy for me when you're when you start making a film, both for thinking of a cinema theater release, for audiences to go there and experience that. But it takes a little time uh, to understand, and that your film now will be mostly watched on a smaller screen. So that was a tough decision, but we had no option at that point, and because things were not looking in terms of that things are going to open up soon. So that's the and also Amazon came up with um, a very what do you say very interesting way of putting it through. So they told us it will go to some 200 countries at one given point. So I never had as an Indian film of that reach where people are seeing it everywhere. So and on that first day of release, access. So I think that was a different experience altogether, and it widened my little bit of the kind of films I make. It just widened the entire diaspora of my the film lovers, I will say. So that was definitely a great experience.
True. So back to Udham Singh. Do you want to talk about the time when you first learned about him?
Uh, See, I was a fanboy of Shahid Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh was another very known and very popular freedom fighter and revolutionary from that time. He's like an icon, and he's like a Che of our Indian. He's like a Che Guevara of our Indian freedom struggle. So I was a fan by, and so while digging on Bhagat Singh during my theater days and my um, later when I visited Amritsar, Jallianwala Bagh, where there's this there's one bloodiest massacre takes place in 1919. So I've been digging about other characters, and through that I came to know more about Sadar Udham, what he did. There's very little information about him all over, I think, but we know him since the Caxton Hall incident in London, what he did when he assassinated one governor of Punjab. I don't think British knew also about him too much. They knew about him, but he was not that iconic figure as such. That who could be assassinated like that. But I think that after that, the whatever happened, post 3 months, the way it was hushed, and he was hanged, and also the Second World War was absolutely on the door. So I think that's how I came to know that how mysterious and elusive this Sadar Udham was actually, and and also doing all kinds of revolutionary acts and getting people involved with the Gadar movement. Gadar is also an our own, what you can say, underground uh, movement that happened. So he was involved. So that made me interested in him, that I must look into his whatever he is. So that's why I chanced upon him, and I really got interested.
And why did you make the film?
One very important thing was that uh, I was exposed to certain kind of a, not exposed, my understanding of a certain kind of a revolutionary was uh, was little, not different, I would say, but it's different than Bollywoodish way of presenting it. I would say, so in cinemas we have seen, and so I always felt that no, this is not right. This is not the way a revolutionary should be. Um, one film that always stood with me was Richard Attenborough's Gandhi. The way he treated that film, and the way, it. I think that's the only film I can remember for, done on Indian soil in such a, uh, you know, um, artistic, display of whatever, a character. So I felt that, I must present Bhagat Singh that I know. I must present Sardar Udham that I know. How I feel a revolutionary is, and they were actually, they were just young, you know, some 23 and 24 years old boys, young boys. So that's the main reason that, how I understood them, what I got from them. They were absolutely normal, ordinary, um, common, youngsters. I mean, there was nothing like, that you can't touch them, that they were icons, and you could not reach. So these were some things which kept on with me, and I thought I must speak out the way I think. So it should be, a revolutionary should be.
This is, I think, your kind of first biopic, and it is also about a man about whom, as you just mentioned, there isn't much information available. Did that make it easier for you to kind of work on the character personality of your hero? And how exactly did you go about modeling and creating this personality?
Well, it was a little difficult, in terms of getting facts about was he there in India, when was he there, when was he in Europe, what was he doing there exactly. So there are folklores and there are myths and there are some facts, whatever available all around. So one important thing that I got hands on was the Hunter Commission report, and the Congress report of 1919 and 1920, when after the massacre, when there were survivors who were, who were asked to give statements. So I kept on going through all those statements, and then through that statement, that reading those statements, that gave me a lot of uh, in terms of idea, and from their imagination, how that some personality could be, what were the people they were doing, how the Congress leaders were reacting, how the HSRA were doing later when Bhagat Singh came in, the HSRA movement. And because there were two parallel movements which was going on, one was the youth underground, and another was the the, the Congress movement, the Mahatma Gandhi. Uh, of course, in 1919, it didn't fuel that much. I mean, after 1919, I think that everything was, much more, harder stances were taken. So those statements actually gave me a lot of understanding of these people could be, how he could be. Of course, we don't have any memoir or documentation of him, of Sardar Udham. We have only some letters that he wrote from the jail, from the prison in Pentolia and Brixton in London. And of course, everything is not there. Some are, of course, deleted. But you could understand that personality from his letters. Uh, so that were the only source for me to craft what he could be. So and the rest was just imagination.
Tell us about the experience of shooting your film.
Again, I would say I took a lot of help from two films, which gave me a lot of uh, you know inspiration in terms of creating an era. One was, of course, again Richard Attenborough's Gandhi, which was a lot of influence and inspiration. Also, I looked into that film for a lot of references, and then another was that was a different level, but it's an ode to Akira Kurosawa's The Hunter. It was a film that he made. It was a Russian and a Japanese collaboration. The only film he made out of, I think, Japanese land. So these two were a lot of references for me to uh, try create that era. And I have no experience in creating an era. I have no, um, and of course the British Archive. Um, they have a fabulous archive which they have just kept it so beautifully in terms of so that definitely helped the archive footages. Videos of those are on the internet. It's available from the pathe, in terms of the footages. um, and of course all the British films of Second World War, documentaries of Second World War, and some of the West, even the American films too. So I think all this helped me to craft. So the most difficult was not the London part. The most difficult was to recreate the massacre, the Jallianwala Bagh. That was difficult for me to put it together. Uh, but whatever happens, you find a space. How this space was, it was like almost like a prison. People were, and there was just a small alley, and just everything was covered. Of course, in this digital era, you can still do that, but still you needed that organic feel to it, so that you were transported to that space, what's happening in that in that massacre. So that was the most difficult. Otherwise, I think we managed quite well. We shot the London part in Russia. All my British actors were quite shocked. You are shooting London part in Russia. I mean, this is completely opposite of what you're doing. They were a little scared also coming there, to visit Russia. I told them, no, no, don't worry, come here. So they were quite apprehensive, all my British actors, to come to Russia and shoot this part. And I said, no, no, don't worry. But I think they all came, and uh, they shot there, and they were quite surprised uh, seeing the Russia of now and then that time possibly.
Yeah, I mean, your style of filmmaking involves the locations. The locations play an important part in your films. So, exactly as you mentioned, what was this shooting the London part in Russia? What was it about?
You know, uh, we knew that I won't have the luxury of that kind of budgets to recreate, or SFX doing things like that. So we visited, especially Petersburg, St. Petersburg, and around, and we came to know that this city was also built around um, uh, the the prince of that place. The prince of, at that time he studied in London, and they had they had some family relationship there between uh, the Russian prince and the London whatever. Some family connection is there, and so he studied there, and he came back, and he wanted to recreate London exactly like in St. Petersburg. So that gave me a little tick. Okay, why is there possibility of some alleys, some roads, some streets, houses? Are there some similarity? So, uh, so I and also it was expensive for me to go and shoot in London to recreate all that. For so we thought we spoke to our SFX team, and they said, no, these kind of things. And it was not too much of a creating London. It was through people, you in a very minimalistic way. We just created it. We just didn't do too much.
You just mentioned it was difficult for you to recreate the Jallianwala Bagh incident, uh, uh, especially because I think you've been carrying this story, you've been wanting to do this for like 20 years or something. So that gives an idea of how involved you are in the story. How exactly did you make it work, that sequence? Emotionally, how was it?
Emotionally, it was difficult to shoot that sequence. When we were actually shooting, I would come back, and I could not explain it to my a lot of my crew members what exactly I'm looking for. Sometimes it's very difficult. uh, Sometimes some visuals are in your head, but it's difficult to capture that. I used to be behind the camera. I used to have two buckets just with blood, and just a mug with me. Wherever I felt, I will just pick up a mug of just blood, and will just splash it, and everybody in the crew says something wrong with him. So as in the film, Doyle says that there would have been a river of sixth river, the sixth river, the river of blood. He says in one of the. So it was actually that day. It was just blood all over in the small drains and the pipes and the water logging. It was all blood, nothing else. When I read the survivor story, so when I was recreating, it gave me a lot of disturbing nights to when I went back to the hotel. Yeah, what would have happened that night? So I don't think I've captured anything, just a percent of it, but that itself was so difficult to capture, and also to get my actor Vicky and the other actors to feel that pain there, the that night, because the entire night outside was a curfew and martial law, and nobody was allowed to to attend the injured also. And the people who must have survived or died at home, they also didn't had the courage to go and report to the hospital, because they could have been identified and again picked up and again prosecuted or done whatever. So this was terrifying. So it was not easy. It was disturbing.
Coming to the casting of your film, you initially wanted Irfan, and then he asked you not to wait for him, and then we lost him. In hindsight, how do you process his denial?
I mean, Irfan, and I still feel he never went away. So I was quite close to him. I became actually much closer to him during his treatment. When he was going through. So I was the one who was actually in touch with him. Me and Irfan as well. Irfan is a kind of a personality who's really addictive. You get addicted to him. There's no other way to explain Irfan. You just get so addicted to him that you can't think beyond him. So uh, like every story, I thought even Udham, Irfan, you will do it, because there are a lot of things. As a director, I don't know how to achieve it. I can roll my just camera and feel it, but rest I don't know how. I'm not an actor, so I needed someone who I could depend upon to get this. So that was Irfan. It was for me. It took a lot of time for me to shift from Irfan to Vicky Kaushal. Uh, you know, you kept thinking of many other actors. You bounced off. But Vicky's only work that I've seen and that I kept with me was Masan. So I think Masan. I think he was just even the film by Neeraj Gewan, and also as Vicky and the other. I think it was such a uh, uh, you know meditative experience for me watching Masan. So I think I was looking for that exactly. So Masan played a very important role in casting Vicky in this film. But I told Vicky that it was Irfan and now it's you. So of course Vicky Kaushal was also in a, he was taken aback. It was Irfan, and now I am. But Vicky came with a complete, a lot of, uh, um, he didn't come with any baggage because of his earlier success of commercial success of films, which were, of course, a lot of chest thumping mainstream also. But uh, as I haven't seen, so it helped me, and he knew he's a Punjabi boy, so for him it was a childhood, story from her grandmother, grandfather. So there was something of this character in him, not character, a knowledge, I will say, about this incident and what he must have gone through, Sardar Udham or Bhagat Singh. So that also helped me, um, you know, uh, process and also give him enough material in his head to process the character.
And your Bhagat Singh is Amol Parashar. How did you do that? For me, that was kind of unlikely casting.
Yes, it. I see. Bhagat Singh. I told you I wanted to make a film on Bhagat Singh, so I could not make Bhagat Singh. Then I moved on and started studying about Udham. I made Udham, and in this film, I'm so thankful and privileged that I could marry both of them. You know, I could bring Shahid Bhagat Singh in a way I want. There are some such a light moments, couple of Bhagat Singh, which I thought is that's what Bhagat Singh is all about. Uh, you know, uh, so Amol, uh, there were many options for this that was going through my head. Who could come as this. So I don't know how Amol came on board. I think my casting director suggested me why not Amol. So I went to Amol and I thought Amol. The first Amol was really taken aback because I would be scrutinized completely for this character. All my life I will be targeted and scrutinized if I don't do it right. So I said no, just be the way you are as a youngster. You know. So that's how. I mean, it just we thought we need somebody who could be just normal.
That takes me to my next question. There's this one scene in your film which was kind of defining moment of the film for me, where you have Udham Singh roaming around the streets, drinking alcohol, and kind of lost in his thoughts. The scene where he's talking about free speech and all. What was your intention of creating that scene, which is kind of almost 360 degree to one, just opposite of what people believe a revolutionary to be?
That was my Udham Singh. You have caught on the absolutely the scene, which is me. I myself. I think that's me and that's Udham. I mean, I think somewhere uh, when we were writing that scene was not there. So the rest everything was there in the film. His speech, days on the court. So then, while there on the shoot before I went, so me and my writers Ritesh Shah and Shubhendu, we discussed. I mean, we have got everything right in terms of. I need something that the day he is out of control, and then we exactly know who a revolutionary should be. The way when you when you're completely lost hope and you don't know, you don't. Uh, so my idea also was that the killing of assassination of Michael O'Dwyer was not that he intended or he just kept it for 21 years, not that he was revenge. He didn't knew at that point what to do possibly, and possibly at the heat of the moment he took this action. So just before that, I think I just wanted to him to speak out whatever he is as a personality, and I also wanted Udham that way. So if you ask me in the entire film, that's Udham, and that's a revolutionary. I see it should be, because when you're drunk, you speak the truth.
But given the kind of era and time that we are in, do you fear any kind of backlash for that scene?
Could be. I mean, there could be. I mean, and I would say a backlash, but I would say there could be somebody who may ask me why you're showing him like that. But he was in London, a youngster, he's moving all over. So we do all the time. That's okay. I mean, for him to get drunk is so normal. So, and I think if there is somebody who wants to discuss with me and have an objection, I will sit and discuss. I have many even little facts available of his visits, where he went, what he did. He did everything. He was master of, you know, all kinds. So what happens when you're a 23, 24 or a 30, when you go on what will you do? You are romantic. You will do things which normally a normal person will do. I mean, they are not that they will not do anything, they will be just. So I think that's what is revolutionary should be, is everywhere.
That also reminded me of Mazan, that famous scene of Vicky's.
Yes, yes. But this was not. I mean, when we did this scene, I mean, I didn't think of that at all. It just came that in London, that there is this place in London where I think I'm forgetting the garden, where you can go and everybody can stand up in that platform and talk whatever they can. Hyde Park. It used to be there in Hyde Park. It is there actually, where anyone can go and talk anything. So I thought it's such a nice concept. So this inspiration came from the Hyde Park, that platform where you can say whatever you want standing up. So I think that I took it from there.
Beautiful. Uh, that is all the questions that I have. Do you want to talk about anything else, any kind of special experience while writing the film or working on the film, producing it?
Uh, uh, one important thing about this particular film was that there's a lot of English in this film, when you will see. So I think a lot of my film lovers and audiences are going to get a little surprised, because why it's not in Hindi, because normally a film where Britishers are involved, where they somehow speak Hindi, and which I never could connect with. So Britishers are speaking like Britishers.
And not Bollywood Britishers.
What? I didn't get it.
And not Bollywood Britishers.
No, not at all, not at all. I think we made sure that we did a casting from there. Like the gentleman who played Doyer was actually from there, and he's also an Irish. Then even Inspector Swain and the Eileen. So all that. I think let me try this as it is. I don't want. If they are in India, let them speak. So it's like the film is little bilingual as such. So, so it's very, I have always objected to that kind of an Bollywoodish English Hindi speaking characters, which just don't give me any weight to the character, doesn't give any depth to the character, it just becomes little, for me, becomes little funny. So, so I have tried, even I've done a Hindi dubs also for that. I just kept it. But those were also not like a Bollywoodish. It is more like a serious an actor would speak. But I somehow want that people connect with this kind of a language that we have used, and I hope it finds an audience there, because there are many things, many uh, uh, scenes which are purely in English, and they're speaking like any other English film. They are the characters. So that's an experiment that I've done, and let's see how it works with an Indian audience. But of course, there's subtitles.
Subtitles. I'm not sure if that's also the case with the Amazon, with the one that Amazon streams, but the file that I saw, the subtitles were off. I mean, they were not for some Hindi dialogues, they were there for the English ones, English subtitles for English dialogues. It was a little off. I'm not sure. Sirf
No,
screening
it must be technical problem. There's an English subtitles all through.
also.
All through, yeah.
Watched the film, I liked it, and विक्की के साथ जो इंटरव्यू किया उसमें भी आई ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस क्योंकि आप लोगों ने जो फिल्म बनाई है एज आप लोगों से बात करके समझ में आया कि आप लोगों का एम भी यही है इट्स नॉट अ टिपिकल रेवोल्यूशनरी फिल्म और मुझे देख के भी वही लगा इट्स वेरी डिफरेंट एंड आई डोंट थिंक वी हैव सीन समथिंग लाइक दिस फॉर अ रेवोल्यूशनरी
Thank you so much. Thanks. I'm really glad. Yeah, we tried it, so I hope. Yeah.
That's how I saw it. I hope लोगों को भी पसंद आए.
Thank you. I hope pasand aaye logo. I hope. I hope.
That will be all, sir.
Thank you, Shweta. Thanks
Thank
so
you very
much.
much for your time. All the best. Take care.
Pleasure.
Thanks,